Let me tell you about Marcus and Jordan. Same company, same department, same start date, same job title. They even sat 3 desks apart from each other for 2.5 years. Marcus was the kind of guy who came in early, stayed late, and never missed a deadline. His work was clean, precise, detailed. The kind of work that made his manager's job easier without his manager ever having to think about it. Marcus believed in one thing above everything else: let the work speak for itself. Jordan was different. Not better, not smarter, not more talented, just different. Jordan sent a short email every Friday, 3 bullet points: what he worked on that week, what was coming next, one thing he needed. That's it. 3 minutes every Friday without fail. Jordan asked questions in meetings, not to show off, just to stay visible. Jordan grabbed coffee with the team lead once a month, just to talk, no agenda. Then the company went through a restructure, budget cuts. One position had to go. Their manager sat down to make the call. Marcus had 2.5 years of excellent, invisible work. Jordan had 2.5 years of a relationship. You already know how this ends. And the worst part, Marcus never saw it coming because nobody ever told him that the game had 2 scoreboards and he'd only been tracking 1. What's up, everyone? It's Soluna. Welcome to Soluna vs. the System. Today, we are cracking open the topic that makes people the most uncomfortable and the most angry at the same time: office politics. Now, before you roll your eyes, stay with me, because this is not a video about being fake or learning how to backstab your coworkers or becoming someone you're not just to get ahead. This is a video about the rules nobody gave you when you started your job, the invisible scoreboard, the second game happening in every workplace that most people don't even know they're losing until it's already too late. By the end of this video, you are going to see your workplace completely differently. Let's get into it. Here is the fundamental problem that nobody names directly. When you start a job, you are given a rule book. It says things like show up on time, meet your deadlines, be professional, do quality work, follow the process. And you follow it because you're not naive. You know that doing good work matters. But here's what they never tell you. That rulebook is incomplete. It's not wrong. Everything in it is true, but it is missing an entire second half. And the people who gave it to you aren't going to tell you about the second half, because if they explained it out loud, it would sound corrupt. It would sound like they were telling you to play games. So instead, they just hand you the incomplete version and let you figure the rest out on your own. And most people never do. Here is the rule that is not in any employee handbook ever written. Being good at your job is necessary, but it is not sufficient. You also have to be seen as good at your job by the right people at the right times in the right ways. Those are 2 completely different skills, and most people only develop one of them. People hear the phrase office politics and they immediately think manipulation, backstabbing, fake smiles in the hallway, someone taking credit for your work, someone spreading rumors to get ahead. And yes, that stuff happens. It's real and it's ugly. But that's not what office politics is at its core. Office politics is something much simpler and much more uncomfortable than that. Office politics is the gap between how work is supposed to work and how it actually works. That's it. In theory, the best work gets rewarded. In theory, performance is what determines who gets promoted, who gets the good projects, who gets more responsibility and more pay. In practice, the most visible work gets rewarded. The most trusted people get promoted. The people who are known get the good projects. Performance is the entry ticket, but it is not the whole game. And once you truly understand that, I mean really let it land, everything you've been frustrated about at work will suddenly start to make sense. Let me walk you through exactly what happens to most hard workers. You show up. You do excellent work. You solve problems your manager doesn't even know about because you handled them before they escalated. You stay late when the project needs it. You go above and beyond, quietly, consistently, reliably. And then, 6 months later, budget cuts, or a promotion decision, or a new project with high visibility, and someone else gets it. Someone who, from where you're standing,
doesn't work as hard as you, doesn't produce what you produce, doesn't have the track record you have. And you tell yourself it's because they're playing games. But here's the thing. They're not playing games. They're just playing the full game, the game you didn't know had a second half. Here's the brutal truth. Your manager is not keeping a spreadsheet of your contributions. They're keeping a feeling, a vague, imprecise, emotionally driven sense of whether you're reliable or not, whether you're growing or not, whether investing in you is worth it or not. And that feeling gets built from fragments. A comment you made 3 months ago, the time you stayed late to help when you didn't have to, the time you were silent in a meeting when everyone else was engaged, the project update you sent or didn't send. These fragments accumulate. They form a story, and the story determines your career far more than any actual performance metric ever will. So if you're doing excellent work and nobody is seeing it, that is not a problem with the quality of your work. That is a visibility problem, and it is entirely fixable. Here's another version of this that I know so many of you have lived personally. You collaborate on a project, you do the majority of the work, the research, the execution, the problem solving at 11 p.m. when things went sideways. Then there's a meeting, someone else presents it. They get the questions, the applause, the recognition. 3 months later, when leadership is talking about who to put on the next big initiative, they remember it as that person's project. And you feel cheated, because you were. But here is what actually happened underneath that situation. Credit did not flow to the person who did the work. Credit flowed to the person who communicated the work. That is the system you are operating in, whether you agreed to it or not, whether you think it's fair or not. And you can be completely right about the unfairness of it and still lose, because the system does not reward rightness. It rewards visibility. Now, let's talk about the part that makes most introverted, high-performing people shut down the conversation entirely: relationships. I know, it sounds like networking, and networking sounds fake and exhausting, and like something you have to perform rather than something that actually comes naturally. But here's the thing. Relationships at work are not about being fake. They're not about schmoozing or pretending to care about things you don't care about. Relationships at work are about being known. That's it. Just known. When your manager is deciding who to put on an important project, they don't open a spreadsheet. They think of a person, and they think of someone they trust. And trust doesn't come from a resume or a performance review. Trust comes from dozens of small interactions over time. A question you asked, a problem you helped solve quietly, the way you handled something professionally when it could have gone badly, the time you showed up for a colleague when you didn't have to. All of that builds a picture, and that picture makes decisions. You don't have to be everyone's best friend. You don't have to go to every happy hour or perform enthusiasm you don't feel. But you do have to be a person, not just a productivity unit, because decisions at every level of every organization get made by human beings, and human beings trust people they know. Ask yourself honestly, at your current job, do you actually talk to people? Do you ask questions, offer help, engage beyond your immediate task list? Or do you show up, execute, and leave? If it's the second one, you're not being professional, you're being invisible. There's another dimension to this that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most important one: reputation.
Not your reputation on paper, your performance scores, your reviews, your credentials, your reputation in the room, the story people tell about you when you're not there. And reputation gets built in moments. When something goes wrong on a project, do you stay quiet or do you tell the truth about what happened? When a teammate is struggling, do you help or do you focus on your own output? When blame is being assigned, do you let someone take the fall or do you speak up? These moments feel small when they're happening. They feel like minor judgment calls in the middle of an ordinary workday, but they accumulate.
they stack up, and they become the story people tell about who you really are. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The people who advance the fastest are not always the most skilled. They are often simply the people that other people want to work with, the ones who made someone's job easier once, the ones who didn't throw anyone under the bus when they could have, the ones who are known for being real, not perfect, just real. That is currency at work, and most people never think to invest in it. There's one more rule nobody teaches you, and it might be the most frustrating one of all: timing. You can do everything right: the visibility, the relationships, the quality work, the reputation, and still get nowhere if your timing is completely off. If you ask for a promotion the week after the company announced budget cuts, it doesn't matter how strong your case is. The answer is no before you finish the sentence. If you pitch a new idea when your manager is drowning in a crisis, they are not going to hear you. Not because the idea is bad, because the moment is wrong. And here's what makes timing even brutal. Proximity to success matters more than contribution. If you're working on a project that succeeds, you benefit from that win, even if your role in it was small. If you're working on something that fails, you carry some of that stain, even if the failure had nothing to do with your work. We remember associations, not spreadsheets. When someone recalls a big win, they remember everyone who was visible in the room. Proximity creates perception, and perception creates opportunity. Most people ignore this entirely. They believe good work should speak for itself at any volume, at any time, in any context. It doesn't. The same idea, the same proposal, the same ask, pitched in the right moment can change your career. Pitched in the wrong moment, it disappears. Okay, so what do you do with all of this? Let me give you the exact moves. Simple, practical, no performance required. Move 1. Stop waiting to be discovered. No one is coming to find your hidden, excellent work and reward it. Your manager is busy. Your colleagues are focused on their own priorities. If your work is invisible, it will stay invisible until you change that. This is not self-promotion. This is documentation. Send a short update. Speak up in meetings, even once. Make sure the people who influence your trajectory have a clear and recent picture of what you contribute. 3 bullet points once a week. That's it. That's the whole strategy. Move 2. Build 3 real relationships. Not with everyone, not performatively, just 3 people you actually respect. Help them when you can, ask for their help when you need it. Show up for them in the small moments that don't cost you much, but mean more than you think. You are not networking, you are just not being a ghost. Move 3. Understand how decisions actually get made. Who has real influence in your environment? Who do decision makers listen to? Who is in the room when opportunities get assigned? This is not manipulation. This is not playing games. This is just not being naive about how your organization actually functions. Because if you want something to happen, a promotion, a project, a raise, a new opportunity, you need to understand who can make it happen, and you need to make sure those people understand why it matters.
Move 4. Read the room before you speak. Before you make an important ask, any important ask, assess the timing. What is the current mood of the organization? What is your manager focused on right now? Is this a moment of expansion or a moment of contraction? The same request in the right moment gets a yes. In the wrong moment, it never even gets heard. And here's the reframe I want to leave you with. If you've ever been passed over and you're sitting with that feeling right now, that quiet, bitter, exhausting feeling of, I worked so hard and it didn't matter, I need you to hear this. You were not passed over because you're not good enough. You were not ignored because your work doesn't have value.
You were evaluated on a scoreboard you didn't know existed, a second game with rules that nobody handed to you, and you played it the best you could with an incomplete rulebook. That is not a character flaw. That is an information gap. And now you have the information. So the question is not whether the system is fair. It's not. In a lot of ways, it never will be. The question is, now that you know how it actually works, what are you going to do with that knowledge? You can keep doing exactly what you've been doing and hope the system eventually notices, or you can make small, deliberate adjustments without compromising who you are that give you an actual shot. The system doesn't have feelings about this either way. It just keeps moving. Don't let it move past you. Marcus kept his head down for 2.5 years. He did everything right on the scoreboard he could see. He never knew there was a second one. You know now. So here's my question. Drop it in the comments right now. Have you ever been passed over for someone you knew you outworked? What happened? I read every single comment, and I promise someone reading yours is going to recognize exactly where they are right now in your story. If you know someone who is grinding hard and getting nowhere, send them this video today, because sometimes the missing piece isn't more effort, it's just the rules nobody gave them. Subscribe if you want to keep learning the game behind the game, because we are nowhere near done. I'm Soluna. I'll see you in the next one.